The quoting of the Wall Street Journal, which quoted an American official saying that if ISIS stops, we'll stop. Boy, this is so typical. This is so typical. Having ISIS, again, the whole purpose of the airstrikes that we're now seeing as proposed and directed by the president yesterday and as described by the president yesterday is to protect American citizens and assets in Iraq from ISIS, from their convoys which are moving towards them, okay? And as Peter King has said on the show today, as Paul Vallely has said on the show today, as Andrew Bostom has said on the show today, and I'm sure many of you believe is true as well, now's an opportunity. If we're going to bomb ISIS and hit their convoys, then let's bomb ISIS and hit their convoys wherever we find them, without condition. ISIS needs to be stopped. If we're going to go through all this, why are we going through all this on such a narrow, little, limited scale? Because it's who Obama is. See, ISIS, if you stop ISIS and don't come near Americans, we'll leave you alone. So keep killing Christians. Keep beheading children. That's okay, apparently. I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say. We should seize this opportunity to cripple ISIS as much as possible. Okay, John Yoo is going to join us and talk about a bunch of things. And first, let's watch this.
But we tortured some folks. We did some things that were contrary to our values.
Were you surprised to hear the president actually say torture?
I was. I think his use of the word torture could have political, diplomatic, and possibly even legal implications. We reported this morning in the Daily Beast that the Senate report that President Obama was speaking about explicitly decided not to use the word torture just for this very reason. They didn't want to wade into a legal debate that could have far-reaching consequences for the people implicated in the report for using these harsh interrogation techniques. I'm sure this is how President Obama feels. He even mentioned that even if the report doesn't mention the word torture, anyone who reads the interrogation techniques.
All right, you get the point there. And joining us now is John Yoo. So glad to have him back. Professor of Law at Berkeley Law, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the Department of Justice, and co-drafter of the enhanced interrogation techniques, which some on the left call, torture memos. John, great to talk to you, sir. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back on.
Well, my pleasure. When you hear that from the president, what goes through your mind?
I can't believe the President of the United States would say something like this. I think every word in his statement is wrong. First, the government didn't torture anybody. The reason why we went through the entire exercise of getting legal opinions and being very careful when interrogation methods were and were not used was to make sure that we didn't step over the line into torture, but that we used lawful, although aggressive, interrogation methods. The second thing that's wrong about the president's statement is that we didn't interrogate some folks. I mean, these are not the way folks are that the United States might have randomly ran into them in the street. These were the very top al-Qaeda leaders, the number 3, 4, and 5 people in the al-Qaeda organization who provided a wealth of information. Now, of course, the United States, if all things were equal, wouldn't want to have to use any interrogation methods at all. We wish people would cooperate with the government when enemy combatants would cooperate when they're found. But these were the very worst, toughest members of al-Qaeda, people who were leading the plans of attack on the United States and were impervious to any normal interrogation methods. This was a necessity that was forced on the United States by the way that al-Qaeda fights, which is to deny all the rules of civilized warfare, attack civilians by surprise, disguise themselves as civilians. So the only way to stop them is to learn their plans and inner thinking.
And of course, those enhanced interrogation methods were credited, and it was documented how it was credited with preventing future attacks and saving American lives.
But not just, if you just take a few examples, the way Osama bin Laden was found was because one of the top al-Qaeda leaders, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, revealed the name of a courier to the government during interrogation. Take another example, just page through the 9/11 Commission report, which was a bipartisan report. Of course, it was controversial, but if you look at where all the information comes from about al-Qaeda, its history, and its plans, they come from those interrogation sessions. And as you say, There are many plots that apparently were stopped. The CIA is still deciding, along with the Senate and the White House, how much information to make public. But I think anyone who served in the government at that time, there's nary a doubt amongst them that the information from these interrogation methods produced intelligence that stopped attacks on the United States and our allies.
When you look at what the president said last night and the bombing that's now taking place in Iraq, do you, there's talk already from some on the left that the president should have gone to Congress, should have gotten a declaration or at least of support for what the president is doing. President's well within his right to constitutionally to do what he's doing now in Iraq, correct?
Yes, first he's using force to defend American interests abroad, American personnel abroad, but there's already an authorization to use military force in Iraq. Now, in fact, this shows, I'm afraid, the short-sightedness of this administration is that a few weeks ago or months ago, the Obama administration was exploring ways to repeal that very statute that was passed in 2002. I worked on it along with many other people to get it passed to allow the use of American force to stabilize Iraq and stop its threat to international peace and security. Now this administration, I'm afraid, thought the war in Iraq was over just a few months ago and wanted to repeal it. And now I worry that a few bombs in the north around Erbil are not, it's just too little too late. That this is an administration that should have intervened earlier and more forcefully to stop the rise of what we always feared, a terrorist group controlling large amounts of territory, weapons, and oil.
Yeah, and they're using our weapons that they captured from the Iraqi army. They're using the tanks. Reports that they have our tanks. They have our heavy weaponry. So they're planning on going far. But it's interesting. So how would they go about if Obama really wanted to push back then a couple of weeks or months ago in overturning the 02 authorization for force against Iraq? Would it have to go through Congress, or would he play the game that he has a pen again?
Well, this is the ironic thing is that it goes back to the thing that what we were talking about earlier about whether we tortured some folks. This is, the Bush administration, we took these questions seriously. We had legal debates with the administration. We produced legal opinions. As you allude to, this is an administration where the president feels he can rewrite laws, where he can choose to enforce and not enforce laws, not on whether they raise tough constitutional questions, but just because he doesn't like the policies involved. And so here's a president who has, as far as I can tell, no legal opinions, but is thinking of raising tax rate on corporations, on not enforcing the very law he wanted passed by Congress, Obamacare. And I don't think that this administration takes a written law as seriously as a Bush administration, but because I think of his wide support in the legal academy, the legal profession, and the media, he's getting away with it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's shift gear and talk about Bergdahl, Sergeant Bergdahl. What's the legal implications of what's going on here? First of all, I am shocked and I am amazed. We were told, we were fed a real bill of goods here that we had there wasn't time to tell Congress because his health was so dire he was going to die. Then we saw the video of him. He walked, away out of the Taliban captives, or away from the Taliban captives. A few weeks in the hospital. He's back on duty now. And just now and only now, all this time has elapsed, and they're finally talking to him. There are still soldiers who served with him, who to a man say he deserted, that have not been spoken to yet. What do you think is going to happen here?
Obviously, this is a problem that I think this administration just hopes will go away. And what they probably hope more than anything else is that an investigation into all this takes forever and at least takes past November, if not 2 years from this November. And this administration is not eager to investigate the facts. Mind you, these are all facts they should have known when they made the original decision. And so the real fault here is that we're doing all this, the government's doing all this investigation, questions that they should have done a long, long time ago before they decided to trade top al-Qaeda leaders, top Taliban leaders, and release them from Guantanamo Bay in exchange for this one guy who, his loyalty to the United States is in doubt.
Yeah, let me go back one more time, one final question, John, about Obama. A lot of people, mostly on the Democrat side, but some Republicans have said it's something that needs to be discussed, and that, of course, is impeachment. Impeachment versus the court case. First of all, you think there's standing for Boehner to file the lawsuit he has filed, and would you, in all the things you've mentioned about Obama, any of that impeachable?
But I know the lawyers bringing the lawsuit on behalf of Speaker Boehner. I think they're very fine lawyers, but I think they're pushing a very aggressive theory of standing. I'm afraid I don't think that they have the right to go to court. I think the framers designed our Constitution so that when Congress and the president have a dispute, they don't try to drag in the courts to settle it, but that Congress uses its own very powerful authorities to try to fight back against the president. One of them is impeachment. I mean, I think it's without a doubt that the framers would have thought that what President Obama is doing now would be grounds for impeachment, but it's also a political issue. And I don't think politically there's the kind of support in the country for any kind of impeachment. I think instead what you need to see is Congress pursuing other methods, refusing to confirm people, cutting off funding, refusing to fund programs. Those are the tools that the framers really wanted our members of Congress to use to fight the executive branch, not suing in court. And I'm afraid I don't think we have, the administration has too much support in the country to fight off any real impeachment move.
Right. John, pleasure talking to you, sir. Fascinating. I could go on, and I hope you'll come back soon, and thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Anytime.
Thank you, John. John Yoo, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Very, very interesting. When we come back, the Malzberg panel once again. Don't go away.